Good evening. Welcome to the Recall Singularity. This is a space factory game set in space in a factory by Tom Lees. I'm actually still getting used to streaming again after a long break, so there'll be a few, bear with me as I tune a few little things here and there and get things up and running. My chat window is off on the side here, got a second monitor, so I'll be glancing over here regularly to see what's going on. What you see in front of you is a version of my game. There's no ships showing on it. So the game's quite early in development. Things are quite rough still. And it's powered by Godot engine using Rust simulation layer that both moves and simulates the ships and also simulates their contents. So if I make a scoop, right now it's coded so that there's oh, that's not good. There's no conveyors showing in the preview. Interesting. That's a bug that I haven't seen before. I guess I have to fix that. So a bit distracted by that particular bug. Let's just try that again. So we'll make a conveyor going this way, and out comes some stuff. And if we make a refinery, so we added some animations in the last stream. These animations are got a number of bugs. For instance, if the conveyor's full right to the very end, they don't stop. They only stop if the conveyor's only partially full. So they still need some tuning. We've got lots of untextured assets that obviously needs work, and we've oh, how'd that affect? I just adjusted my monitor, and then of course I moved the camera. Yeah, that works okay. I'll just sweet. So what I'm working on today, and let me just bring this across to here. So what I'm working on today is exporting my project, which has gotten fairly complicated, out. I imagine this is actually a 7-zip archive, just open as a zip file. I wonder if I copy this and turn it into a zip extension if it acts like a zip file. Okay, that's good. I wonder what the pack format is like. So I can launch this exported version. I might just, when I launched it last time, it came up with some assets missing. This one here is built in a different mode, which has a factory. Yeah, the walls are still missing. It has a factory simulation, but no moving ships and no little players. Chat's working. It's good there. Okay. So if I make conveyors here, that all works, and that preview works. But these walls are missing. Oh, of course the walls are still missing. Yep. So if I go to the project, I should be able to export this. I wonder if there's a, I remember if there's a UI scale project settings, a UI scale for Godot itself, editor. I don't remember if there was. GUI. I just lost track of where the GUI was. Yeah, GUI. Common. Timers theme. Custom font. Yeah. Editor. I don't remember if I can make the GUI any bigger so it's easier to read on this monitor. It's everything looks a bit fine, doesn't it? And I was suggested last time I need to change the scaling of my screen, but I haven't actually got around to that yet. So anyway, let's try exporting again, and apparently that problem with the missing walls will vanish. So, because between the previous export and now I've mucked around in here and caused them to be loaded by the game. So I want to see if that fixed it. Export, choose a location. Hi Setzer, I'm glad you could join. Good to see you. Save. We're going to overwrite this, yeah. There's a little bit of a wait, there's some processing. So one thing I'd like to do is to reduce the amount of extra resources that are being zipped up, because right now it's making 300 megabyte pack files, which is going to be a little bit large. Also, I need to recompile my game DL so that it fits nicely into the, it's a release build. Right now it's not release. So let's just try building the floor build. It's interesting. I can't even see myself adding the floor. Oh, I know why. Because I've built a new version. This one has the ship cores. Okay, so the walls are still missing. So when I look in here and I go up to where the walls are loaded, I wonder if it's to do with the case sensitivity. I bet that's the problem. I bet that the pack files are sensitive to case, whereas on the Windows file system it's not. That's my guess at least. So let's just have a quick look at... I think there's a warning sometimes when you try and use something with the wrong case. Which of course makes me think I probably should change everything to be lowercase. So if I go into mesh and I'm going to bring up my, need to exit this, close all windows. Yeah, just tidy up my desktop. So here's C-Line, which is my main way of editing Rust. If you just excuse me for a second, I'm going to pump up the font size here for you. Settings. And we'll increase the font size. Let's make that 18. Okay. That's a lot more readable. Might just move your editor window across a bit. And the reason why I do this is so you can see more of the editor, even though it does mean you can't see the little bar on the side. Excellent. So what I wanted to look at was my ship link. Ship link is the module that interacts with my spaceships and updates into the screen. And it has the names of all the different assets like 3D modules, wall.tsc in here. My thinking is that if I looked in Godot, I'd find that those files actually have an uppercase name. It's a bit smaller, I moved it across, hey? Okay. So, what was that path? 3D modules. 3D modules. Wall. Yeah, so I unintelligently made that uppercase. So let's just rename it to make it lowercase. I thought F2 would... Does F2 rename? No. Okay. Choose rename. Wall. Okay, so that's probably why it didn't load. And I think storage has a similar problem. So what I've done here is I've got this thing called state sync, and it's got inside a dictionary which maps this enumerator of things that my game knows about to strings which are paths that Godot knows about. And this is binding the different parts of my game across to the assets. And then these are scenes that get loaded when the relevant thing gets called. And so this module is just like in my Godot project. Is this in my Godot project? No, now we've got, yeah, that's still in the Godot project. So in the Godot project, it's these different things you might want to place in the scene. And then one of these types, this type module draw type, is actually only known by my simulation layer. So if I go across to here, you'll see the simulation layer is down in a different crate, and it contains all the different things that you might have in the simulation. So by using this enumerator, I can selectively pull in different things. Yeah, it's just a nice way of keeping things abstract. So my simulations worry about these entities in terms of enumerators, and it's only at the last second they get turned into scenes. So when I place a conveyor like this one, I get a fully fledged scene which has a parent and it has objects in it. And one of the scenes that gets placed in space is actually a whole ship which contains a whole bunch of stuff. So that's how I create stuff in Godot based on what's going on in Rust. So I just want to fix these cases. So wall is now lowercase. I don't think there's anything else here that's uppercase in this folder. And then 3D modules. Yeah. So I believe with that one fix, and if I recompile the Rust code, What did I just change? Jump into Git and have a look. Okay. Okay, so a bunch of scenes got changed, but the Rust code hasn't changed. So I should be able to re-export now. Project, export, and save, overwrite, okay. So I'm just trying to tune this export so it contains the whole game, as you'd see in the debug window. And hopefully this one change will, let me get rid of this. Hopefully this one change will let me see those walls. Okay, ship core. Yes. Okay, so it was just a case sensitive pack file. Did we fix the problem with storage? Yes, so storage is also invisible, and I bet the reason why is very similar. So there's this 3D module storage.tsc in here. But, oh yes, it is uppercase. Okay, so we need to rename this also. Rename, make it lowercase. I wonder what else is uppercase. We got some materials here. I can't remember what material. We got a material. Yeah, so it'll be dot material. If we find anything that has a dot material extension. Like here's one where I try and load these different materials. I need to make sure that all these different things that could be on a conveyor. This is very similar to what I showed you before. It's where I'm populating a dictionary that maps different things that could be on the conveyor, whether they're box, copper, iron ore, gold ore, mapping them to a particular material. There's the material enumerator, and then there's the actual file name. So let's check that all these materials are also lowercase, because otherwise I won't import. 3D ship. So I've been doing development for, I don't know, a year and a half since I last did an export. The last export was quite interesting. It's like way back when. This is back when the Recall Singularity was still 2D. So believe it or not, this is a conveyor. That's a conveyor. I can't remember if I can zoom. I don't think I can. Or mouse wheel. Oh, mouse wheel actually works. Okay, so these are these were storage boxes, and these are conveyors. So that's facing right. So it's going right, right, up, left. You actually place conveyors, you know. Oop. And so it was adding modules, and you could put storages down. Oh gosh. Yeah, oh, there's this weird offset bug where the cursor wasn't quite in the same place as where the thing is. And you could hover over things to see what's in them. I think these ones started off with some debug granite in them, and it got moved by the conveyors. I don't think I could even delete stuff here. And I could push the press me button, and it would be my test message that was sent to Rust. It's like such an early version of the game, if you could call it that. And in the background is a little spaceship I created in the tiled editor. It was like a concept of like a little spaceship. Can I move this around? Like this. So that's what the game used to look like. Fortunately, it looks a bit better now. So we'll just move that into a historical curiosity folder. I guess that's 201H1204, and we'll put that in there. That's just way too awesome. Okay. Oh, sorry about the creaky chair. Creaky. Okay. What was I doing next? Oh, I was going to go through the materials. So 3D ship material, and then each of these had to be lowercase, which they seem to be, and then 3D space material. All of those are all lowercase, which is good. So these are material files which contain links into things like albedo, metallic, etc. of these PBR textures here. PBR meaning that it uses physically based rendering. So I'm not sure if that's off the screen. Oh, it is. I'm very sorry. Wow, cool to see how far you come. Thanks, forecast. I know, right? It's come a long way. It's come an awesome way, and I still enjoy going to the Discord and going to our progress pictures and just seeing all the pictures of things that I've done in the past and how far it's come along and been tweaked. Wow, I forgot the floor was missing. We've got some great assets coming up. So it's incremental progress, and eventually it's going to be good enough that it's actually worth asking people for money for it. Okay, everyone's playing, having fun with their friends. It's going to be amazing. Let's see if I can play this one. Project. So we're going to export it one more time. So another thing I want to do is I've currently got it's currently exporting everything in the project. So what it's ending up with is much larger than what it should be. So we're going to export again. Save. Yep. Once we've got it working, then we'll start removing things until it's nice and small. Because right now we've got 350 megabytes. So I've settled on deploying this game. Initially, I've going to be releasing it through Steam, not necessarily to sell, and not necessarily to figure out how we sell first up, how it works. Obviously, if I'm going to use Steam, I have to release on both at the same time. But the point I'm making is I'm going to start sharing some builds to some close friends, using Steam as a distribution mechanism, as a way of practicing sending out releases, as a way of automating that process, so that when the time comes, I've got a well-known, I've got builds I've been using Steam for a while. That offset's really funky. I haven't seen that bug for a while. I wonder if I moved something by accident. The whole UI has been moved. I must have dragged something in the editor without realizing I was doing it. Let's go back to the base scene. 3D root and the UI. That still seems to be centered. So what did I change? We'll just put these in for now. Okay, and then I'll refresh to see what's changed. Placement ghost. Yeah, I renamed that. I don't know why they're this UI previews is that back to where it should be. It's just the path one is wow. The path one is offset way off to the right. Really weird. Okay, the walls are showing up. If I place that conveyor, that place is okay. Weird. And then, yeah. Okay, so we'll just remove this and we'll put a scoop here which creates gold, and we'll add another conveyor. Okay, what's going on over there? Oh, that's right, of course I had to click twice to place conveyors. It's very easy to forget that when you're building a conveyor that's one square long. I still need to update the UI. So we've got pretty looking gold here, which is good. And then make a refinery, and right now the refinery automatically converts gold into that orange thing is supposed to look like refined gold and slag. So that orangey stuff's supposed to be slag. And then those bricks, I was going to make gold, little gold bricks. But it's one of those things where I put a placeholder in and then I moved on to something else. There's a lot of placeholders in the game right now. These storage boxes are awful, and I've already had a mesh provided to me that was much better. I'm very good at putting things off. Really, really good. The other thing that's been put off is that when I fly the ships, they currently don't collide. I turned that off when I redid the physics recently. By turn it off, I mean I had to re-implement it, and I haven't done that yet. Okay, so What would I say? Why is the preview window gone to one side? Let's just try running this and see if we can figure that out. Oh, why is it showing us there? Hold on. This has moved. Oh, it's at the background. Okay. UI. So if we go into the UI scene and we look at this, it's got a 3D user interface, and then inside that it's got a 2D user interface with my test code in it, like this. I haven't really visited user interface for a long time. One of the next things we'll be doing is like making a main menu and stuff, I think. Is the test button still there? No, I did finally delete it. In here, and then there's another object here for path ghost. That's still centered and path. So I wonder why that suddenly got an offset to where it did. And if I run this here, so this is no longer the exported version, do I get the same bug? Or was that a one run thing? Like when I place it, yeah, so there's still an offset here. I wonder why that's suddenly true. It's really weird. Okay, so next thing we'll do is we'll put to the project list. Yes. So at the moment I've got a bug where Godot holds onto my Rust DLL. I probably should put this. I've got so much personal information still open. I really should have done a better job of sanitizing everything before I started streaming. Okay. What am I going to do now? Yes, I was going to recompile this DLL. Run. I'm going to rebuild the Rust code. So this just is compiling the SGCore project, if you will, the SGCore crate, which pulls in a simulation and then creates what's called a dylib in or dynamic library in Rust, and that's the DLL, of course, in Windows. And other operating systems it's something slightly different. So now if I run this, I'm definitely running the latest version of my code, so I didn't want to try debugging stuff when I'm running a different version than I think I am. Okay, ship core, conveyor, yep, and then over here. Okay, so it's placing them back at the world origin, so it's not actually applying the transform of the ship. And applying the transform of the ship is something that happens in script. So the question is, why is that suddenly stopped working? In the script, do I get an error? There's a lot of output. Where do I apply that transform? I'm pretty sure if I go into UI and path ghost script and yeah, in the processing if current ship. Path ghost as a path. Yeah. The path ghost is the one that figures out what items there should be, and then there was another thing which was the placement cursor place line, I think, moves path ghost into the right place every frame. On process, path ghost moved to path ghost. Where do I set the position of this thing? Oh, I've noticed something else, which is that when I'm running the game, everything's fine. The camera looks great and it's nice and smooth. When I go into Godot and it's debugging, that if you watch carefully, occasionally you see the camera glitch. Just did it a moment ago. And again, I think what's going on is Godot keeps on sending camera writes into my game, and restarting the camera from its default location as in the scene tree. And as a result of doing that, and then the camera immediately flies to its new location because it's, you know, moved. It's been moved every frame. And so it takes a couple of frames for it to settle down to its new location. And so it looks like it's glitching. Hey, Path Ghost moved to... okay, so Path Ghost is... yeah. So inside move to... do I ever change position in here? Or translation? Yeah. It's placing the children of this thing. I can't remember how I move these. So they face the right way. You'll find it on a stream, there's a lot of me going, I don't know what's going on, and I've forgotten how I made it work, and oh my god. Set rotation. Hopefully makes you feel better about your own project. Into build. Something else. I'm going to open up VS Code. I'll quit the game for now. Oh, here's Visual Studio Code. Okay, so let's see if I can open, well, find Path Ghost. One of these pieces of code must have set its position. I seem to remember doing that, I can't remember which one it was. Okay. This UI, it's just making sure that it gets hidden when it's not being used. I wanted to update while I'm streaming. Hey Nishsold, glad you could join us. I'm just trying to figure out why there's this weird offset between where the path of conveyors I'm building is, where it should be. It's very frustrating. Path Ghost. Track cursor. My UI is all in GDScript, as you can see. Okay. I'm really perplexed about this. Did I lose it in a commit somehow? Like I've gone to a weird commit. That would be a good explanation. Why does... okay, it keeps on vanishing. Diff. Checking I didn't put code in this branch here. No. Or here. No. Or backed out of changes. No. That's really weird. I really thought I'd written some code to move this path into the ship. You know what? It's possible that this is not even something that I just introduced. It's possible that this bug has been here all along. I just never noticed it before. Most likely. Hey, Weird! I'm really glad you could join us. It's nice to see you back after all this time. Obviously, I missed writing this feature, and so I'll just quickly tap it up. I just didn't want to write it a second time if it was working somewhere else, because you end up with two things running counter positive. So we've got a Path Ghost node, this node here, and it's the one that contains all the little conveyors. When I build a conveyor like this, it's the one that's being rendered over here. It's the one that's being rendered here that contains all the conveyors. It really should have its spatial node moved to coincide with where the ship is, and we can just do that every frame. Is quite straightforward. So in cursor build path, Interesting. Build path. I said to find it again. Whoops, wrong one. Let's see, where are we? Cursor grid, cursor place, we're doing a place line. That was the one. In here, we've got the path ghost, and there's should be a in process. Yep. If it's not present on tree, return. If update mouse tracking, if ship. And we need to move path ghost dot translation. Is it? Or it's transform equals ship transform. If we do that every frame, it'll automatically snap in conveyor. Okay, I'm not sure if this change I just made here has been applied into Godot, so let's just restart the game. One thing I've noticed is if you edit it in VS Code, it doesn't always apply into the game, whereas if you edit it in Godot, it does. So one advantage of doing it. Yeah, there we go. So that's working. I was just spent a long time being perplexed why that wasn't already in. I guess I must have thought I'd done it, but I hadn't. Because until now I've been testing using that standalone mode where the ships can't move off the origin, so you don't have that problem. So another problem I have, which is pretty quick to fix, is that the ship is currently moving about 10 times faster than I want it to move. So let's just fix that in Rust. It won't take a second. Go into Sea Lion, and there's one of the systems is called engine something or other. Engine? Okay, ship move. Let's just stay with ship and we'll find it. Move ship, that's the one. This is a system, you know, systems are a specs or ECS thing. Hey Nesh. Hold on a second. Great thing about good microphones, they pick up everything, even if I sneeze off camera. Probably should have turned that off for you. Anyway, a system takes a bunch of components in the ECS and it does something useful. In this specific case, let's clear this. It takes inputs. So it takes the physics state, which is like everything about the physics of an object, and handles, what's handles for? Oh, that was a way of managing which object we're talking about, and then active input, that's the user doing some input. Oh, I was about to shake the camera. Positions in 3D and information about all the factories. And it basically takes the user's input and determines how much the engine should thrust. And as you can see from all the blue code, I've commented out large blocks where I've got ideas about how I want ships to be able to be controlled by automation. But right now the only way to control ships is directly. And then it decides how much velocity you want, and it calculates how much thrust that should be, and it applies the thrust to the physics engine here. That's how engines work. And there's another system that takes your input on your keyboard and maps it to a particular object in the game, which is the one you're controlling. Anyway, I want to change this one of these thrusts to decrease that. So I was thinking we'll knock a 0 off thrust, and maybe we'll have rotation, and we'll save that, and we'll see how that looks if I compile. I'll need to, for the compiler to succeed, I mustn't be running Godot, so I'll just quit out of this. Let's just make a first commit. So we've got placing the cursor in the right place, and we tweaked a bunch of case. So fix some asset loading issues and tweak and path building offset from ship. That's gone ahead and done that for me. I'll need to put that in a branch and Git rather than master, probably. I'll do that later. So that's my new code. If I run this batch file just runs the git build followed by running Godot to launch the game again. This is a little bit faster than doing it by hand. Let's just check, see if ships feel. I'll just reiterate, I've recently changed to a different physics engine called Rapier. So I haven't re-implemented collisions yet, so I can fly through other ships and I can't pick things up that speed feels still pretty powerful. I might just bring that down a little bit more. I need to make these values something I can tweak with data rather than having to come in here and change code, but we'll do that for now. Let's see. So ship core. So the ECS I'm using, or entity component system, is one called Specs, because it looked really mature at the time, and it has a model that I quite like. But I'm also interested in other ones like Hex or Legion. Both look fairly appealing. I might have considered one of those if they were fairly mature at the time I started the project, which was like 2 years ago. So, although I changed the specs later on, I'm not sure if I want to change right now. So this ship is handling about right. That's good. Okay. I really need to fix the key map. It's a little bit wonky. Like, it's really crazy. Wow. There's something is causing the ship updates to go really slow as that the mass is changing. Just seem to get really like glitchy there. I think what's going on here is my decision making about when to send the network packets about the rotation. Yeah, the rotation resolution is deliberately quite low. Oh, I thought I'd increase that. Yeah, that's right. The positions resolution is quite high, but the ship's rotation resolution is quite low. And that becomes really obvious when you're rotating slowly and it's quite large. So that's interesting. I might want to fix that at some point. The reason why the resolution is so low is because I'm using fixed point maths for some things, and wonder if that's a ship component. And in here it has a facing. Yeah, okay. How do we serialize that? We don't. Okay, so we've got pos, which is this in degrees, and it turns it into a fixed one at some point. Yeah. From my symmetry. What is a fixed pos or small pos or transmit pos or tx pos? Yeah, that's the one. Tx pos facing is a facing fraction, which is a I30 F2. Why has it got such a small fractional part? It doesn't make any sense for a 32-bit number to have such a tiny fraction. Yeah, mystifying. Absolutely mystifying. Okay, so let's change this fixed point number so that it's we'll give 6 more bits to the fractional parts. 24 fraction is 8. This is using the Rust library called fixed. So that will move the decimal point, and then that will mean when I rotate ships, they rotate in much more granular fashion. Yeah, Elmari, I agree. I mean, it's just really just to expedite. Huh. Okay, so now I look at my character, they can't rotate. The rotation's broken. Done something to that. I wonder if that means I've messed up the ship. What have I missed? I-24. So I-24 is much larger than say 360 degrees. There must be some numbers that I'm trying to store. Hold on, 24. So I mean 8 bits is 256 different values, and then 9 bits is 512. So anything more than 9 bits here shouldn't roll around. I don't get it. Let's try 28 F4. It's a compromise, but I don't see why that was rolling over. I must have somewhere that I'm doing maths and facing fractions, like converting them to radians or something, or from radians, where I should really be converting them. Yeah, so my person turns, no, still doesn't turn correctly. Okay, does the ship turn correctly? Yeah, So there's something funny going on here. I need to look into this later. I'll just put that back to what it was and worry about it at a different time. But that's definitely on my... I was going to write it down on my to-do list as something to look at later. Okay, and... Sweet. What am I going to do here? Okay, so I adjusted the ship speed. Another thing I wanted to adjust while I'm in Rust is building this in release mode. I wonder if Godot has an option for where it gets the target file from. I think it does. You can put it in a different place for release. Let's just have a look where I've got it from now. So I think I put this in script and then native sim. So in here there are a few resource files. There's one for each class that I export from Rust into Godot. So each one of these has it mentions a library, and it also mentions a name. Floor tiles. So this down here in very tiny writing says the word floor tiles, and that specifies what class. So for instance, shiplink was the one I was looking at earlier, one called shiplink, and then it has to match up an SG-core with shiplink here when I define this class, and I use a name shiplink here, and I call this macro native class, and so that name is in the DLL, and then Godot finds it based on this text. But it also has to refer to another resource file which defines the entire DLL, this gdnlib. So in here, there's a whole bunch of values which specify where I can find the library for different situations. I can't remember if there's a dynamic library. And so I need to create some more outputs here, like Linux and so on, in order to support the different platforms I want to support. I was just wondering if there was an option here for a different library in export mode, but I don't think so. I'm not sure how to go about making it so that in export mode it uses a different library. There's a lot of little buttons here and I don't know what they do. That was not the button I wanted to push, obviously, because it just deleted something. I wonder if there's an undo button. Editor. The other undo button is just quit the project list. Yes, grab up GitHub. It's not GitHub. This editor keeps going over it, or something's causing it to vanish every time I open it. It's quite annoying. Ah, here it is. And that's going to revert that change. If I refresh this. Oh, Godot mustn't have saved the change to the resource that I was worried about. That's good. So we didn't lose that item from the list that I deleted by accident by pushing the wrong button. So I was just saying that if I was going to do a release, I'd want to make a compiled release version of my DLL. I'll do that in a minute. Let's worry about file size. Can't remember if there's a way of seeing in here what's large. Editor, layout, project. Open project data folder. Okay, so that interesting. Scene. Yeah. I wanted to know if there's a way to see what files are large in my project. Let's have a look and see if I can see it in export. Resources. But I want to export selected scenes and dependencies. So do I want these meshes? I don't remember if I use those mesh files directly. I don't think I do. DAE. Was that Godot's format? I don't remember. Okay, and then there's... So we want conveyors and conveyor corner, flight console. Can't remember what ground cursor means. Don't need the laser cannon right now. Refine, scoop, storage, wall, and inner corners. And then I'm just trying to choose things I want to export, by the way, things that I think are important for the game to work. Tiny little little words for you, I wonder. No. Okay, meshes. I'm not sure if I have to mention the meshes directly because mostly they are pulled in automatically for little guy. Probably need to rename this thing called light row. Ship route, definitely. That's the thing that holds the entire ship. Meshes. We want a background. I don't know if we want rock. I think you do need this rock scene. Rock scene, you are the only one. Anyway, hard point. What's hard point? Oh, yeah, I think I remember that. And a little sign interact here. I need to change this case. The ship GUI. I don't need any. Oh, I think I do. I can't remember. Anyway, experiments. I don't need any of the experiments. Particles. Don't need that. Meshes. I think I do need these. I will need these very soon. These are extra meshes that I'm going to be pulling in later as the game development progresses, which have got some nice variety to them and also some nice texturing. I might just show this to you in a minute actually, if I can open them. Modules, leave those alone for now. There's tiles, modules, basically need all of this. We'll go close and then we'll just put to project list. Yeah, just make sure that that actually saved out because it'd be a pity if I did something and it crashed and I lost all that. Wow, let's put it in a big line. So in my editor I can see all the things I ticked are just one huge string in this file in one long line. Probably not ideal for merging later on, but better than nothing. Okay, so we'll go back into Godot and we'll just run that again. So if I export this project, export Windows, export the project, we'll write over this one more time. So I'm wondering how much smaller that's made there. Oh, it certainly is a lot faster. Okay, so that's positive. Yeah, so that pack file now is only 150 megabytes. I remember when I was first putting all the textures in, I was like, oh my god, that's so much data. It's going to make the game so big. Okay, so that game launched and then quit again straight away. Wonder why that is. Let's just try launching that from the console because it might give me some ideas. Okay, failed to load 3droot.tscn. There's a bunch of things that it couldn't find. So we'll go through each one of these and make sure it gets in there. So resources. So we need UI, and there's a folder here called UI. There's a file called default environment.tres, yeah. So 3D root is down here. It failed to load 3D root.tscn, probably because it's probably because these other errors. Where did I put this file? UI default env.tres. Here we are in UI. I can't see it. 3D env. I wonder if that's been coming up forever, that error. Okay. Let's just ignore this top one. Yeah, so can't load the default environment as specified in settings. So I think that explains another problem. I need to just change run. Where is the default rendering environment set? Window, mouse cursor, quality, environment, open. Apparently it is here. Called default env.tres, but weird. Okay. Well, when I go to export, I can't see that. Export. Yeah. Probably because it's not a full scene. And choose export selected resources and dependencies. And our scenes in the list. Yeah, scenes are still here. Okay, so we'll just tick the particular resources in. Okay. So default env. 3D UI. I don't see a search box in here. Just navigate the whole thing. 3D UI. Need material.material. Here it is. Next one was I can't find 3D UI ship GUI.glb. Okay. Ship GUI.tscn, got that. 3D root tscn. Gosh, it's a little bit tedious, isn't it? And finding all these files. I think we've got it now. So export project. I'll save. Okay. And run it again. Okay, let's see what's now missing. So you got material 01. Okay. So 3D modules, material, mesh, material 01.material. And then render conveyor.glb. And then 3D modules. Always wonder with these things how many times I'm going to have to go around the loop. 3D modules, conveyor, already here. Oh, it's probably because of that other area. And then UI placement ghost is probably because of these errors too. Okay, so we'll try again. Save. Because if one of the scenes mentioned at the bottom tries to open one of those scenes, which then try to open those resources which were missing. So it's like there's a cascading failure. Okay. Turns out you need material 02 dot material 2. Probably should give those better names. Hey. It's gonna get there. We're gonna get there. It's gonna be okay. Export. Save. Yep. So I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to cross-compile my Rust DLL to Linux so I can put a shared library in the export? We'll have to see. Wonder if I can use Windows Subsystem for Linux in order to compile that. Or if I need to use a Ubuntu host somewhere else. We still want to put that in a build script at some point. Okay, so it got a lot further. Everything seems okay. Yeah, so not surprisingly, a lot of things didn't get loaded to do with things that are going to be inside the ship. Let's just quit this. So when I tried to load things for the ship, like rocks and stuff, that didn't work. Let's put those in. I like to think that everyone is enjoying the quiet sound of me struggling so that you can just get on with your day, and hope you're having a nice day. If you're enjoying just hanging out with me, I'd love it if you throw a like underneath just so that YouTube knows that you like these kind of videos, and you're welcome to subscribe. Or dislike it if you hate it. Write a comment, tell me what I'm doing wrong, let me know what it is you enjoy about the video. Or just sit back, relax, and listen to my voice. That's also cool. Thank you very much. Okay, so we've got 3D ship. And inside 3D ship, we got object block.tres. I have to kind of forget that I'm streaming, otherwise I get a bit like frantic. Okay. Space. Rocks. Got the background. Materials. The PBR folder. So obviously we want all of these to come in. They're pulled in by the code, which is why Godot couldn't figure out that they were dependencies. We need the material files for those. I'm not sure where those materials are. 3D ship material, object block material. It's possible that this was pulled in by this anyway. Let's try it. 3D ship. Thank you, Forecast. I appreciate that. Because, you know, yeah. I always think I'm dreadfully boring just because it's what I'm doing, and I really appreciate that. It's still interesting, educational, entertaining, the mix of those. Good company. Apparently the Kiwi accent is a winner, which is, I must say, I really appreciate having something that I don't have to work too hard on to just people appreciate. I think I've done pretty well getting the noise filtering set up for the microphone, so it sounds actually fairly good. Okay, I've lost my track. Let's just export and we'll see where we're at. Save. Okay. Okay, so that's good so far. So once I do this, my Rust script tries to pull in all the assets. And actually it's pulled in almost everything. It just can't find rocks, basically. Which should be pretty easy to fix. So 3D space, let me just move around a bit. Settle back, relax. I should probably pop this up so you can see. Yeah. Okay. It's fun to constantly check yourself out in the camera, make sure that it's nicely framed, everything's good. Anyway, 3D space rocks. 3D space. Oh, good evening, Maxwell. Thank you for joining me. Have I seen you before? Anyway, welcome to the Recall Singularity stream. I'm just currently tweaking the resources. Well, I think still Murray. Tweaking the audio. I should probably change my streaming turnaround time. There's quite a long delay. If you watch this box up here, you can see myself watching myself. So if I do some things in here that are visual, and you'll see how long the delay is for me between when I do things and when I see them in the stream's going out to you. It's I don't know, 20 or 30 seconds. You can see here I just pulled across the window, and then you see in the top corner is the little person. Here we are, I'm pointing at the screen now. So you see that that means it takes a while for me to respond to the comments. Ah, thanks, Max. Oh yes, I think I've seen a few of your likes. I really appreciate all of them. I don't want to bore everybody by thanking. I'm so thankful for every upvote, every like, or whatever. It just, 2 years ago, I was in such a dark place because I hadn't shown most of what I was working on, and I just felt like I was not making anything worthwhile. And just the upvotes and the friends, like people on Twitter and Discord, just make it so much more pleasant to code. So if you're working in the darkness and no one knows what you're working on, I seriously suggest you get like 5 fans, because it just transforms the experience from misery to absolute joy. I really appreciate it. So I appreciate all the support. It does make a difference for me. And right now it's about inspiring and encouraging and learning how to maintain a community for me. I'm not trying to like grow crazy, but yeah. 3D Space Mesh. I've also found that I stay on track a bit better on stream. I had to make things smaller and explain, but I generally don't get distracted as much. Don't end up, gazing at people's Twitter feeds or checking out Reddit or reading the news or some other distracted thing that I'd do otherwise. Okay, so it's rock and rocks. What I notice about these is that they're uppercase. In a situation where I stopped using rock, I bet it is. I would probably need to go back and prune my repository of things like this, which I'm not using anymore. I just like was evolving. Node not found, light 0. Interesting. Export, save. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of things that are, have ended up just sitting around because I never went back to delete old stuff. Oh, the executable's still running. So I need to quit this game first. Export, save. Yep. How are we going? So we'll build a ship core. Great. So I don't see any warnings per se. Let me just increase the font size on this one too. Properties, font. I don't want to push it up too far because I need to read it too. Properties, and I get annoyed by large fonts. But that's probably good enough. Anyway, oh yes, I couldn't find rock. Okay, so I was mistaken. We do still need that one that's called rock as well as one that's called rocks. I don't know why. I don't really want to figure it out right now. Oh, there's a thing in Windows, if you select some text, it pauses the executable. So that's why I wasn't quitting. Okay, rock, export, save. There are times where I've like waited for build scripts to run and waited like half an hour, and then oh, 4 likes. That's nice. Thanks, guys. It was just someone had selected it by accident, and it had been sitting there locked up forever. Did I actually export that? I can't remember. Ship core. Okay, what's missing? So it's got some nodes that are still missing. This is like stuff that's nothing to do with the export. Oh, there's a font file missing. Okay, so these fonts look a bit different. Okay, so we'll just quit out of the game. I did it again. Deselect that. Project. Export. And find the font. What's it called? UI. And Lucid something or other. case you're wondering, I'm just pushing the down arrow and then the left arrow to like collapse stuff like you see here. Okay, lucid. Put that in. I think with that we've actually done it. Export. Save. Okay. So I wonder how to. Oh, that's right. The next thing to do was to make a release build of my DLL that's in Rust, so that I got a nice performant and slightly more hidden one. I'm not sure how to define a new target in Cargo. That's the Rust build system. So that how to define a new target in Cargo, because I want a release and a release debug. But yeah, it's looking nice and error-free. Let's just run through the different features of the game. So you can build floors like this. You can jump in the ship and fly it around a bit. You could place another ship's core as a reference point while you're doing that, so you've got some idea where we are. There's no collision detection. Oh, there's a bit of a flip on the, yeah. Did I not recompile it? I mustn't have recompiled since I fixed that problem with the rotation. I can walk around inside the ship. I can place a pretty flight desk like this. I can pop down. So later on, I'll make it so that you have to stand in front of the flight desk if you want to drive the ship. So put this down. Place one of these. Like this. I'm pushing R to rotate it, which is why it popped into a different place. Okay, we need a scoop to put stuff into the box like this. A couple of conveyors. Goes up here, goes across there, and down, and then goes that way, and like this, and then back this way, like that. Okay, watch all the different materials move around. Oh, remember I said the rotation's a bit wonky, so Cargo doesn't have custom targets. Okay, so you can't create your own. That's a pity. Oh, and then I need to, I've done everything here, I think. Need to try deleting a module. Oh gosh, I caused a panic with the, by deleting something in the middle of a conveyor. Attempt to subtract with overflow inside the conveyor lane, line 302. Yeah, so there's a few bugs around deleting conveyors with things on them. I probably should look into those later. I have this thing where I have a global lock containing the world state, and after there's a panic, it doesn't panic through Godot. I catch the panic, so it doesn't blow up Godot, but it doesn't quit or anything either. Or recover in any nice way, so you end up with every frame. I have my error message saying it's poison. Thanks for the like, by the way. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. Okay. So that's panicked, so let's quit. And again, I have to stop selecting stuff. Lots of output. It's going to quit at some point, right? Oh, I was waiting for me to click the X again. In the spirit of testing, let's see how the networking code is looking. No. Down exactly. What to do? Great. Yeah, Nesh, it's on Rapier Physics now, but I haven't done anything but ship movement. I haven't done the collision detection for various things like asteroids and so on yet. Okay, so if I go into the Star World link, just after the Star World is created, it calls this online start client. If I do that, it will play an online game rather than a local one. So just build and run the standalone server. Haven't done this for a while. But I probably haven't done it since I updated Rust about, I don't know, several weeks ago. And we're going to rebuild the game. So as well as the online option, it's also got the fixed, I think it was engine speed or something. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave that window off the side. Let me just move my screen back so that it's back like this again. And then I won't forget. Where is the edge of my screen? I need to put something over there. It's like, yeah. Oh wow, it panicked straight away. That's not a good sign. What was the panic? Tried to fetch resource of type masked storage GD spatial from the world, but the resource does not exist. Starting to get an inkling. I think that's a race condition about trying to update frames before. I think I know what's wrong here. Do not run use Rust stable. I'm using Rust stable. I'm not using nightly, but Rust stable still does change. There's a where do I get a masked storage of GD spatial? Would have to be at a particular location. Yeah, I don't think I ever put GD spatial as the component into the I might have done it in the past. Oh no, GD spatial is my own one. But anyway, so the main reason why that's happening is because my world has certain components inserted into it later on. This register GD star components, and then I have to register a world callback for floor components. This okay. So I think the reason why this blew up is because I have to start the client before I set up the way that I have to add these components. So just to give you a little bit more explanation, I mentioned before that I use an ECS called specs. And the ECS called specs uses this list of components that gets registered when the game is actually running, kind of right at the start. The first thing you do is create the world, and then you tell it all the different classes you want to put in. These are so-called components that I can attach to my entities. So position, bullet, spaceship, has sections, factory summary, asteroid, biped, actor inputs, sync status, construction zone, respawning debris, item grid, construction material, and net state. These are the different components I could possibly put in any given entity, and they relate to the space world. So if we just push that to one side, and we split the window, split right. I also have a different kind of world called prod floor, and that one's for the factories. And so inside the factory, which you'll find inside a ship, it has conveyor linking or needs formation. So those are to do with building the lists of conveyors that move items around. Module needs formation, which is to do with that as well. Sync status, which is to do with I forget what that's for. Item grid holds stuff in a container. Production module describes any particular module. Conveyor module, specifically for conveyors, links them. Storage module for storages, gives them an item grid. Recipe storage for refineries. Refine module. So this thing holds items that get refined, and this thing actually refines them. And then there's a scoop module, which does scoops. and positions, I can't remember what has a position. I think maybe everything has a position or nothing. But the position is necessary for Godot later on anyway. So the position is where you are in 3D space. And I'd love to show you all those classes, but it'll take too long right now. But that's an idea. Anyway, so this is all the simulation stuff, but it has no Godot specific stuff. Nothing in here knows what Godot is. And all of it exists way down here. I've got 4 crates here. The 2 main ones are core and simulation. So all of it exists down in the simulation crate. And then the core crate uses the simulation crate, and it needs to add its own components into the mix. It's pretty simple to add them into the space one, because the space one is only one space and it exists right from the start. But it's a bit more tricky to add them into the ships, because the ships come and go as time goes on. So inside of GD ship link, which is the thing that lip that's for a single ship, my mistake. Inside Star World link, which is for everything, I have to do 2 things. I have to tell it that whenever it creates a new ship, it calls this function, which adds these 2 components, spatial and scene location. These are to do with my Godot thinking. And then it also has to add the same 2 components to the whole Star World, which it does there by calling this. So they're both kind of the same, but later on I mentioned that they'll diverge when I start having something specifically for ships in here. Anyway, so if I look at spatial, it specifies which ship to use as a parent. 0 means use a Star World. I think it's 0, or I might have a special value that's really large. And then the name of a parent inside that, like some sort of node I want to click them in, and then a template that specifies what I'm creating there. And then the templates are those things I mentioned near the start of the stream, either the modules, space objects, or bullets. And so this is how I pull stuff in to Godot. Anyway, I realized that this line here, which is actually passed into this online start client, has swapped around the active client to be one that's not simulating a local connection, but one that's actually connecting to a server. And when it did that, it forgot that I wanted this callback. And as a result, the callback wasn't registered, and so I think that's why it crashed. Yeah. So we'll just stop selecting here and quit. And we don't need to restart server, we just need to restart the game. Okay. Oh, and the other thing is the server also creates asteroids. I forgot about that. The asteroids currently, there's no collision between asteroids and players, but later on you'll be able to mine them. It doesn't look like the seed is being transmitted, because they should have different seeds and therefore look different. Yeah. Anyway, so let's create a ship, and I will just put this over here, and we will launch another version of the game. It's just loading all the textures. Yep. So here we are. So move our little person around. So I want you to pay attention to that little person up there, right? Can you see that person there? Yeah, you should be able to. Okay, notice how they're moving. So as I move them on this screen, they move on that screen in sync. So I'll just zoom this up, and I'll move this a little bit out of the way. That's halfway out of the screen. So you can see how there's like this, I'm controlling on this screen here. This is the current window. And as I move on that, and if I grab this screen and move that guy, moves on that window. And so I should be able to do all the different things. Obviously, the preview of what you're going to do doesn't show up, but your actions should. Yeah, there we go. And then if we put a scoop in and a storage, right? And then we make a refinery and another scoop and a conveyor and another conveyor. Right. Now, right now I haven't bothered to extend the synchronization to game state completely. So if I created another game, so you have to wait while it loads all the textures, right? So if I move this guy down, what you observe is there are a few key things different. In fact, there's actually missing a couple of structure types, missing scoops. I think it's because I hand-coded the synchronization logic for encoding some of these structures. The scoop and the refinery are more modern than the conveyor and the storage, so maybe I didn't put the code in for synchronizing those. Yeah. So they're not currently in sync, but if I was to, on this screen here, delete some things, they will change on the other one. It's just they're not getting back in sync. So we're close. There's a bunch of bugs that I could fix, and but conceptually, the most important part for me is that I'm writing the game in a way that is multiplayer friendly, so that when I come to time to actually support this properly, it's not a big deal. Okay, so let me just. We're going to go back into Rust and let's do a couple of things. So, I was going to build a release build of this, and I was going to change it back to being offline. Yeah. Later on, I'll have a main menu where you can basically choose whether you're online or offline. That's good. So to build a release build of this, run. Let's edit our configurations and duplicate the build SQ core. Build release SQ core and package SQ core lib. I think it's release build. This target equals release, isn't it? Equals release. Apply. Okay, and then the cargo toml file. No. I was wondering if I still had one of these that said that if it's in debug mode, it has symbols. I don't really want that. Or a release. I want a release without symbols. No reason. Run. Let's run build release. Yeah, probably shouldn't use target as something else. Let me just quickly Google that with DuckDuckGo. Release Rust. Let's tear off a tab and put over. Rust. Release Rust cargo. I think cargo releases for publishing a crate. Yeah, you just minus release. Okay, run. Edit configurations. I probably should. I'm going to turn down the latency for the next stream. There's like an option for like video quality versus latency, and considering I like people giving me advice, and you guys often do, I need to turn the latency down because otherwise the advice was going to turn up too late to help. Or you might be worried that it will, and then you don't help, and then you realize how long I flounder around for, and that's all very entertaining. I'm not quite sure what you do. Okay, run build release. Good, that looks like it's running. So when that release is done, I'm going to have to go into probably need to make an after build step or a batch file or something that copies both of these DLLs into the same place. So whichever one I run most recently, or I need a build script that exports. I wonder how you automate this stuff. That's going to be definitely soon on the to-do list. Yeah. I'm just going to take a quick break to stretch my legs while this is compiling. I'll be right back. Oh look, one copy the release. I see. I don't think it's fast. I might just go. Then photograph move much. So no, stuff that is I mean, well, this created. Um, so if you missed it, it is actually what's interesting about the local version is it runs both server and client. So everything that works in here through networking. So what it does, the way that oh, I'm sorry, I turned my volume down too low. Thanks, Maxwell. Is that better? Yeah, the combination of turning my microphone down too low and moving too far away from it was messing with everything. I can see now that that's working okay. I think that's working okay. I just blah 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 blah. I'm watching this, so as I'm talking, I'm just checking that this black dot you can hardly see is always moving up here. It seems to be working okay. But I turned a knob down when I walked out just to turn the volume down. I didn't turn it up far enough. Oh, that's really excellent. Okay. Sorry, weird. Sorry to make you struggle. I'm not sure what to do now. Oh, yes, I know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to start tweaking visuals and UI. So let me launch Godot. The Recall Singularity. What can I do with this? I could do this and yeah, I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just thinking, okay, so if I go into experiments, I think, or did I put it in 3D ship and or modules? Section. Yeah. Is this still open? Modules.scene. So you see these are the textured little modules. I've got tiles too, probably is the right one to open. Let me just, so you know, all this nice lit and textured work, like that. Let me just to check that all the work that we just did has been properly saved away before I do anything else. Star World link. Yeah, that's not really too worrying. Yep, but there's nothing. If I mess things up, I can always change it back. So this is the main difference you see here is a slightly better lighting. There's a slightly higher range of meshes in play, and I've got materials on the different tiles here. And the plan was to not bother bringing the other meshes we use up to date with these materials and so on, because I was just going to replace them outright. Yeah. But in the spirit of doing a nice little release, it might make sense just to update them anyway. So let's have a look through the different tiles. I think what I did with this is I made these modules. No, that's something different. So, and these are things that I exported from Blender. They doesn't seem to be lit. I think I have to add a light to it or turn on a light if you want to actually see it, or add the environment. Is there like a warning in here that it can't find the environment? No. Okay, so we'll just quickly put in a light. Omni light create. So it's like little prefabs. This is straight from Blender, so let's go into the light. Did I make? I'm pretty sure at some point I made another version that was. Yep. So these are just single components. Wall inner, wall outer. Okay. So what I might do, real quick is go into our Rust code and update the references so they point to this different resource as opposed to the untextured one. Because you've seen already that in the game, these wall sections are not textured. Whereas it'll be nice to use this texture. This is just a quick one I made up in Substance Painter. So I used the automatic materials and some paint and so on, and it makes it look a whole lot better. You mean like embedded in the floor? Yeah, sure. I mean, I'd quite like to, once I create ship sections, so if we looked back at this other tiles demo, and I mean, I'm still just starting to experiment with this and I'm really unhappy with how it looks, but if I imagine that this part of the ship is a section that you find drifting and then there are optional parts of it, like there's a wall here so imagine you found this part of the ship drifting in space, or you tore it off another ship, and when you plugged it in, this wall opens up and all the lighting is predetermined, and then there's interesting stuff inside the ship that like makes it look somewhat populated. And consoles and like things you can plug into and conveyor locations and existing small sub factories, and then you just plug it into your ship and you start building into it. That's how I'd like to have sections work on the ship, and that you kind of build your ship out of these sections. And so once you start, like in the current game, the way you think about it is you just kind of paint a floor, and you're very much incentivized to paint the largest floor you possibly could that just extends across the whole thing. You know, there's no reason once you've got a ship core not to just paint a gigantic rectangle, just like as big as you possibly could paint it, like some massive, flat, boring, you know, ridiculous ship, right? Why wouldn't you do that? And it gets a bit bland. And so I want ships that look more like spaceships, otherwise, rather than just, my wife says gigantic baking trays, which is why I kind of wanted to force people into building their ships out of these like pieces that look like they'd be hard to put together and it doesn't feel like a spaceship. Now, these aren't great. I'm not saying they're great, but you know, it's the idea. So I'm heading away from completely customizable floors. So the floor is one thing you can't customize. And it's kind of like in a game like Factorio or Satisfactory, you can't change the terrain, especially in Satisfactory. You can build over the terrain, of course, in that. And that forces you to build your factory into an interesting shape. And then as you progress through the game, the sections you find are larger and larger and more uniform, and eventually you can customize them. You know. So it's not tedious forever. Anyway, that's where I'm hoping to go. So wall inner, wall outer. We've got some other bits and pieces here. Let's just jump across to Rust. Eventually I'm going to make this a little bit more procedural. I mean, it is currently a procedural wall, but it's boring and procedural. It's always the same walls. It'd be nice to have it procedural and random, so that as you build things, yeah, I don't want to put too much effort into it, but I can put a small amount of effort in. Okay, so we'll go into ship link, and we'll look at this list of things that we pull in. Yeah, this list of what assets mean what. We're going to substitute, instead of the untextured ones, we're going to use textured ones. So, yeah, if I copy, I think this is a copy path. Here we are, wall outer. Wall outer corner like this, replace that, and then wall inner, copy path, wall inner corner, and then there's one for wall, and we'll copy that path, copy, and replace this wall with the textured one. So conveyors, conveyor corners, wall, storage. Okay. So if I compile and run that game, project list, close. But now that I think about it, these could be somehow exported from Rust as parameters, couldn't they? Like, something else is still holding the DLL. Game running. Okay, let's try building our ship. Okay, so there's a bit more loading. And okay, there's a different offset in the modules. They're not placed at the same location. So I need to fix that somehow. And obviously they're darker. Okay, so if I just quit this and I launch it again in Godot. What's kind of annoying about this is I've already, what we might do is we probably should just undo what I just did in Rust. So let's change these all back to the 3D module ones, like this. And we'll recompile this, run, build the core, project, to project list. Okay. on that. And then what we'll do is we'll pull the scenes I just used directly, we'll pull them indirectly into the old scene names. So, and then that will let me adjust them. So if I bring this over here, I launch the game, and I create a ship core, and walk over here, make it a bit bigger, nice little preview window. Okay, we go over here and we have a look at 3D modules, and inside 3D modules we have wall. That's the untextured one, like this, right? And so if we delete the wall, okay, so it's complaining that I have to delete the whole scene and rebuild it. So I think that's the right decision. So I'll do that. So, well, rather than delete them, I might just make an old folder. So, new folder, old. We'll just move them into the old folder, old. And then I'm going to create new ones which have the same names and which work slightly differently. So these ones are going to be just a spatial containing the ones I tried to refer to directly before. So, new scene. And the scene is called wall. Okay. And it's a 3D scene, and it contains instance child scene, contains a wall, the wall we saw before, which is in section mesh open. That's the textured one, right? And because I've got a spatial containing this wall, I can now move it relative to the spatial. I'm going to repeat that process for each of the other ones. So new scene, this one's called wall inner corner. Okay. And that is a 3D scene and an instance child scene. Wall inner. Go on there and save this. And then one more. New scene. This one's called wall outer corner. Okay. And there's a 3D scene and instance a child, which is instance a child scene, which is outer corner. Yeah, great. Save. Now, project, put to project list. Well, let's just run this first. So if I run the game and I place a ship, let's see if it's yeah, I really need to put that laser cannon in. I need to put a whole bunch of stuff in. You've made Nesh so beautiful. And getting closer and closer, really am, but so lame me. Okay, so there's all the walls, and you see that offset. Now I should be able to open this wall scene. Wall. Grab the wall, and if I move it here, it moves also in here. Oh, well, that was the plan. I think I put all the walls in the same place. Oh, it was going to be so good. I think the problem I had before is that in the other scene, if I was to turn on snapping, the wall was exactly 0.5, 0.5 was in the middle, as opposed to, if I look at the wall, transform, it was 0.5, 0.5 like this. And so if I let's try restarting the game and see if it looks okay. Nish has made a beautiful cannon. It looks really nice, and he made it, I think it's over a year ago now, very kindly for the use of this game, and I haven't yet put it in because I just, well, I don't know, I guess so busy trying to get other things working, technical things. Now I want to, as fast as possible, get something game playable, and it shouldn't be very long before I have a good reason to put the cannon in. I'm looking forward to it. You did a great job, Nish. Thank you. Ship cool. Okay, so the walls are now in the right place, and the corners are still sticking out. So let's just quickly grab those corners and put them in as well. So somewhere out there, roughly. By moving it by hand, it makes sure that I get the sign right. It gives me a good indication. Hopefully that's in the right place. And then the out corner as well. So we'll move that in. And then we'll go to the transform and 0.5, 0.5. Core. Beautiful. It looks quite dark, but it does look a lot better to have a texture than without. So there's that as well. We'll build. Oh, this corner's around the wrong way. Okay, so the inner corner needs rotating 90 degrees clockwise. So if I grab this, I have to rotate it like that to minus 90, and then I need to let's look at it from the top, move it to about there, so minus 0.5, 0.5, save. Let's just try that again. Floor build. Oh, I don't have a ship. I can't build a floor without a ship. I need to make the game start with a ship. Okay. Also need to make it so that the lights are a bit more generous around the sides. They don't build close enough to the side. Maybe make them less bright and more of them, or I don't know. There's lots of little tweaks to do. Anyway, that's looking great. I still have a bug where if I build, if I have a one row thick missing part of the floor, it doesn't know how to build walls for it. And you end up with some weird issues like that. And it's like, well, I could fix that problem, but it's doesn't really matter, especially if I'm not going to let people build their own ships. Man, that looks so much better with the texture. Doesn't this look better? Anyway. I bet your modeling skills have just improved, Nesh, and your expectations have improved. Also, the texturing on that cannon, I really literally threw it together in like 20 minutes just to prove that it could be done and what it would look like generally. We can do a lot better next time. And I mean, well, you know, it's always first cuts type stuff. It may also be that you improved it after I made that GIF. Okay, so scoop. So the next problem is that these, did I ever texture the conveyors? I don't know. I think I probably need to call it a night pretty much now. So yeah. Let's just wrap it up by doing one final export. So we'll project export. Oh, just before I do, I might just quickly quit out of this, and let's look at what was changed. Waiting for the commit dialog to show up. Okay, so we've got these 3 files in the old directory, and I want to get rid of those soon. We've got these new wall files, 1, 2, 3. We've got these scenes that have changed to point to the old wall file, but I don't want them to. I'm going to revert that and revert this and revert that. So now they're back to standard. I didn't mean to move that. Great. So that would be textured walls, but can we bother mentioning it? And yep, it's still not relevant. Right. All those scenes you just saw me revert are not ones you see in the game, they're ones that I created to test things. I'm not sure if they even work now. But I wanted to see how things fit together before I had like written code. Okay, let's take this and run the export project. Export, make a Windows executable. And oh, I ran the wrong version of Godot. Exit. So that version of Godot that you just saw running a second ago was not the standard release, but one that I compiled locally. So I've got a locally compiled one for debugging with. But when it came to exporting, I realized that if I just got a standard one, it would make exporting a whole lot easier, because there are pre-built thingamabobs that you use, release packages or whatever you call them. So we're going to go up a folder, and I'm going to make a second one, new folder, and put 0324B. Okay, and save that in here. Back. And run this ship core. Yep, so that exported okay, and we'll just quickly change the floor so it's a different. Yep, so it's got the inner corner is correct, and then we'll quit, and then I'm going to I'll just delete, and we're going to go up a folder. I'm pretty sure I haven't actually substantially changed the DLL since I made the previous build, so we're just going to copy the release build DLL that I had earlier. And then floor build. That's great. Oh, I just realized that this, for some reason, I don't have a, mustn't be in spaceship mode, I must be in factory mode. All my person's vanished for some reason. Why is the player puck missing? Yeah, the little guy is missing. So I need to get out of here, and there's a mesh I need to open. 3D ship, little guy, a little pink dude. It's amazing how long he's lived for. It just shows the depth of my laziness. I just wanted something that was my player and I could tell which way he's facing. So probably should just like get a standard model of some kind to put in there. Anyway. Great, we'll build. So I just need to try exporting that again. Export project. Wonder if I just need to export the pack. Build the overwrite and bring up the console. Ship core. I don't see my player. Wonder why that most resources are not opening. GLB is not being found. Maybe I need to tell Godot myself that that's what it needs, resources. Maybe I didn't add him in here. That's probably what's going on. I probably haven't put little guy. I need to create a scene that contains all the stuff for loading purposes probably as well. Or little guy.tsn. Okay, I've got him. Mesh little guy.glb. Into materials for him. Let's try that again. I must have closed that dialog I had open earlier. Yeah, it's got a person now. That's good. Okay, great. We're getting there. Well, I'm really happy with that. So that's the Recall Singularity factory game. I'd like to invite you to, if you had a nice time hanging out with me, I'd very much appreciate it if you want to like this video, subscribe to me here on YouTube. Thanks so much for the company. Especially thank you for all the chat messages. I really appreciate it. And if you'd like some more, I really do actually appreciate it. I'm sorry if it didn't sound genuine. I was kind of distracted by the reaction. Please join me on Twitter or on Discord. Our Discord server is really lively and friendly. Let me just pop that Twitter is in the chat, and we have a Discord server. There's an invite in the description below, or there should be, and you come and ask questions about working in Godot and Rust, and see the progress as I go along. And there's even a streaming channel where we can discuss the stream and hang out. It's been a real pleasure to hang out with you. Let me just pop an invite into the chat. I don't know if you'll be able to see that by the time you watch this video, but I'll put it there anyway. Special invite for you. No limit. Great link, copy, and pop it in the chat. Anyway, hope to see you guys soon, and I hope you have a great day, night, month, week. I'm also streaming again in about 12 hours, just under 12 hours at 10:30 New Zealand time. So subscribe and please drop by for that. Thank you so much for coming, and have a good night or day or whatever.